Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. This week, we're talking about Rhythm of War, chapters 15 and 16, wherein Kaladin tries to figure out his life. Hey, I've been there. Talks to Rlain. Still doesn't get things quite right with Rlain, unfortunately. Then, more interestingly, at least for me, he talks to Zahel, gets to fight, do a little spar with him. Realizes Zahel's not from around these parts. Gets some fun kind of cross-world powers, except I guess, Kaladin's technically not supposed to use his powers. And then we get to be with Navani. She talks to Seth, which weirds her out. Who wouldn't be weirded out a little bit by Seth? She hangs out with Gavinor, gives the sciencey people her weird sphere. She meets up with Dalinar and meets up with Adolin and Shallan and the Mink, and we're about to look at some maps. So that's what we got going on in these chapters. I am Joe, and with me this week is
Data,
Jamie,
and Dak.
We're all here. We're ready. Are you ready? Hold on to something. Sanderlanche is about to begin.
There is a wonder in the weave, so many forks upon these roads. For a burden that is shared is much easier to bear. We will not fall to despair this darkest day. Whatever comes our way, whatever paths we follow, I will share your pain, your laughter and your sorrow. And should we prove ourselves, lose ourselves, nothing's gonna send us astray.
So yeah, before we get into the chapters, I want to let everyone know up front, Dak and Jamie are gone next week. We will not be able to do an episode, so there won't be a new episode next week. We should be back the week after that to finish out part 1 of Rhythm of War. But in the meantime, we did 2 chapters this time. What did you guys think of these 2 chapters?
Well, anytime we get some cross-worldy goodness, I'm all about it. So I really enjoyed the Zahel portion / Vasher portion for sure. Enjoyed them getting to spar with each other. Kaladin trying to figure out his life. It was kind of a bittersweet thing. It's like you can tell he's feeling a little bit better about it, but he's also trying to like hold it together. And so definitely kind of a bittersweet thing. We're trying to figure out how Kaladin fits in. And this is the point, like I know we kind of mentioned it in a previous episode, but this is the point where like the people that are like Kaladin is the main character of these stories, which I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. I want to know how those people felt at this point in the book. Were they putting the book down? Were they like, I don't know about this? Like, kind of what is the opinion of a person that's like, Kaladin is the best main character? How are they feeling in this moment? Because I would have to say, if I was leaning on Kaladin to be my be all end all character, I would be feeling pretty down at this point in reading this portion. So I'd be interested to hear some takes from any listeners out there that have kind of had to go through that. Yeah, Navani talking to Seth. I feel like we're not getting enough Seth, honestly. It's interesting that he's like, I want to fight for you. And then Dalinar's like, well, you killed my brother, so you're going to go to prison. And he's like, okay, I said I'm going to do whatever you say, so I'm going to do it. And then, yeah, I feel like this ongoing mystery with Navani is like, what's up with the orbs? So we're making a little bit of progress there. And then we just get a nice little Shallan, Adolin thing. And it's like, it's interesting now that we get this perspective of like maybe Dalinar doesn't completely approve of their match because he wants Adolin to act a certain way. So I thought that was kind of a short, interesting kind of perspective look into that, because he like doesn't like the way Adolin's acting, and Shallan's like, oh no, Adolin acting, differently than how you want it. How horrible. And it's like, It's like this weird dynamic of where like Dalinar is in charge of her because she's a radiant, but at the same time she's like, it's Shallan, so she's bucking that, right? She's just like, oh no, my husband's not doing exactly what you want him to do. So anyway, good stuff. Not a lot of meat, I feel like, in the second chapter, but again, we're still in part 1, so I feel like that breakneck speed we started with at the beginning of the book, that's slowed down a bit, which is fine. But I want to get into like the more mystery part and like start getting into the thick of like what's going on in this book. Like what's the main plot line of this book from the Parshendi perspective? It sounds like it might be, or listener perspective, I guess, sounds like it might be a an invasion. So we'll see how we go.
So, random thing that you reminded me of at the end. I don't know that we've ever come out and outlined the different names for these people, but so yeah, Parshendi was the name that the Alethi gave to the people they met that lived out near the Shattered Plains.
That called themselves the listeners, right?
They called themselves the listeners, but they only called themselves the listeners to distinguish from the greater group of their people who they were part of before they split off that were called the singers. And so now generally we would call the Parchment, what used to be called the Parchment would be the singers, and then you got the fused or whatever. But
I gotcha.
Yeah, I like what you said about like I could use more Seth. I feel like that's been a theme for the whole first 3 books that we've read. Was like I could use some more Seth. Like what's Seth got up to?
Yeah, it's like it's this weird thing, which I get it, right? He's got Nightblood. It's like he was already a formidable kind of like force, not even like a person, just like almost a force in the way that he was being used, like he was being wielded basically as a weapon. And then he has now an extremely powerful and dangerous weapon. So at the same time, it's like, what do we do with this thing? It's this person. He's so dangerous that like, and they may just not fully understand like how the Skybreaker oath works. So at the same time, it's like, can we trust him? It's like, well, I mean, yeah, technically Dalinar can, but like publicly also there's that thing you have to worry about of like, he's the guy who killed the king and everybody knows that. And he killed a bunch of kings.
Yep.
It's like, what do we do?
Yeah, having him suddenly work for Dalinar might look bad to the other monarchs. That's like, wait a second, he works for you? Was he working for you before? But I do wonder if maybe, like, Seth has never loved the killing part. I wonder if maybe he's like, it's nice to be in jail. I like sitting here.
Listening to the sword. I also like, which I mean, we can get into it in a second, but like, I like the part where it's like, yeah, we had to tell him to like tell the sword to stop talking to us in our minds.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel great, which I think is a thing we know about Nightblood. He has this effect on people, at least the first time.
And I guess I was under the impression, maybe it's just been too long since we read Warbreaker, but I was under the impression that he could only talk to you if you were like holding him or he was like on you, but maybe that's not the case.
I think that was a debate we had in Warbreaker was, wait, because he didn't talk to all that many people. And so we debated like, well, do you have to be wielding him to talk to him? And I feel like you guys were on the side of, yes, I think you have to. And me, having read these other books, was like, well, I don't know. Do you have to? But I'm pretty sure that's a debate that we had at some point.
Yeah. So like, what's the proximity? Is there like, is there some kind of like Cosmere proximity power that he like can talk to you if you're so close to him?
He spoke to Lift last book, didn't he?
Yeah, but
He
she was
did.
holding him, wasn't she? Like she had grabbed him.
No, actually, now that you say that, I think we had a debate at that time about whether you had to be holding him. And then that was the thing, was like, well, he talks to Lift. And then at first somebody was like, well, he acts like he's talking to Lift, but do we ever see Lift respond like she's heard what he said? And then I think in the next section we read, we did see her respond to him. So I don't think she's ever holding him. Seth is holding him, and then she like grabs onto Seth and then starts getting like taken by the weird.
Right. I
blackness
knew there was
also,
some
but-
kind of thing where she had to like share the sapping effect of him.
Yeah, but I don't think she actually physically holds the sword. But yeah, we could always use more Seth. He's, man, who knows what that guy is doing, thinking and doing.
Couple of chapters. I mean, I agree with what Joe said about we're sort of slowing down. We came into this book hitting the ground running, but it's good to just slow back a little bit. I think, yeah, the highlight of these chapters for me was the interaction with Zahel. And that was very exciting. And sort of being like, okay, what are you on the verge of saying? Like, it's so close. Kaladin is so close to prying out information that we as the reader want from Zahel. But it was really, really good and entertaining. And I like another one of those pieces of writing from Brandon that you can actually see it happening, and like it's the sheets and the scarves and everything. It's just very like visually, it was very cool. And I guess if you had any concerns about who you thought Zahel was and you had read Warbreaker before, I feel like this chapter definitely puts that pretty solidly to rest, I would think.
Yeah.
But no, that was really good. I like that we still got the sciencey stuff happening in the background for Navani. It was good to kind of let's see what sort of research they're doing. A bit more about the Void Light, a bit more Seth. That was really good. I was kind of wondering what happened to him. I was like, well, he was a Radiant, but we haven't seen him. Like, what's the go? Oh yeah, he's in a cell, which they plainly acknowledge he could get out of if he wanted to. Just at the moment, he's quite happy sitting in there with Nightblood, and I love that the decision to be made that actually it's probably just better that he has Nightblood. Just leave them together. That's probably a good thing. It seems really rather counterintuitive to put it that way, but that was good fun. Shallan Nadalin, I always love reading them on page, but yeah, I mean, I never really got the feeling before that Dalinar disapproved, but I certainly feel like yeah, you got a touch of that in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, some time has passed, some things have settled from, obviously where they were down on the Shattered Plains. So, things are happening. Fantastic to see Gavinor. It's like, oh, yay, he's here. This is good. He's building a nice relationship with his grandparents and his family. And yeah, I do think he's going to probably have some problems growing up. Certainly some things that he said in this chapter I was like, whoa, poor kid. But I'm glad that he's back and safe. And yeah, coming into the end of part 1, that's exciting. Hopefully we get a couple of fun things drop in the next set of chapters, and yeah.
Yeah, I like you mentioning Gavinor because it's maybe it's just me, but it's weird to me how much, given how small a character he's been so far, I have an outsized interest in wanting that kid to be okay after all the crap that he's been through. Like,
Yeah.
I feel for him, and also I love the point about like maybe Seth is the best place for Nightblood to be. I wonder like who else wants to hold Nightblood for one thing, but it makes me wonder like does anyone else know that like Zahel and Nightblood like have a history? Would Vasher want the sword back if someone was like, "Hey, we don't want this super dangerous guy to have the sword. Would you want it back?" It's weird
It
that he's
doesn't
so
sound
close.
like it because I feel like that's an option that would have been thrown out. Was he looking for the sword or he was trying to avoid the sword? I can't remember.
I don't think that we know either way. The one reference we
Okay.
got was he was like in his room and he's like as he fell asleep he expected to hear a voice in his head, but he hadn't heard it for years. And I was like,
Okay.
okay.
Yep.
So does he want it back? I don't know.
I don't think he does. It seems like the way he talks
No.
sometimes. So he's like, I'm good.
I'm done with this. I
Yeah.
just want to come and do the laundry.
Yeah. I'm sure he felt a
However.
burden for a long time to carry it just because he made it and he's like, this is a dangerous thing. But then maybe eventually he's just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
He sort of obliquely mentioned it in this chapter. He's talking to Kaladin. He mentions Seth up in the tower and the sword that he's carrying. It seems like it's like oh yeah, I know about that thing, and I do not want to go near it.
So yeah, he definitely knows it's there. I wonder if anyone else knows that like Zahel and the sword have a history. It doesn't seem like he's telling people that, but
yeah, that's true. Because we don't even know if Nightblood knows Vasher's name here, so he might be like, "Oh man, I miss Vasher," and Seth's like, "Who's that?"
yeah, right. I feel like Nightblood may have mentioned at some point that Vasher goes by a different name now, but I don't remember if.
Yeah, he might have. Now that you say that,
I don't know that he mentioned specifics. So he may not know what the name is, but Vasher has gone by lots of names over their history together. So
that's true.
Yeah. Okay. So Dak, what do you got?
I like these chapters. It did seem a lot like these. Okay, let's check in with all the characters we haven't checked in with yet. So hey, you want Zahel? We've got Zahel. You want Gavinor? We've got Gavinor. You want R'laine? We've got R'laine. You want Seth? We've got Seth. It's like, all right, like who are the important characters we haven't like seen in a while? Let's just quickly touch base with them, which I'm here for. I quite like. It's nice to see R'laine kind of thriving a bit. Like he's doing something that only he can do, really, in this scenario. He's helping them with the plant growth. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And he seems happy to be doing it, which I feel like R'laine deserves a bit of happiness. We haven't really seen him happy ever. So even if Kaladin kind of, again, it's like, oh yeah, like I ordered this friend to come with you. And he's just like, man, I don't want them to be ordered. I want them to come to me for me. So yeah, that was R'laine needs a break. The fight with Zahel was interesting. not really sure what to make of. I just yeah, we've already sort of talked about it a lot. I don't know what Zahel's goal is here on this planet at the moment, but he sort of mentioned Vivenna or Azure, and Calum's like, this crazy lady's hunting for you, right? And he's just like, yep, don't care. So yeah, what the hell happened in their history to lead to that? And yeah, the Gavinor situation was interesting. Like I too am invested in this kid, and it's like this poor kid has mum went crazy, dad was slaughtered, the kingdom was lost. It was a whole thing. So this kid, yeah, we need to keep a closer eye on this kid. But yeah, no, it was just like it was smaller character moments this time around, and as I said, touching in on a lot of the previous characters. I like seeing Seth. I like seeing Nightblood. It makes sense, I guess, that Seth is in jail, but I guess they're not really ready to get rid of him because he's Dalinar's probably going on the whole. Well, we've got the assassin in white, and he has the most dangerous sword in existence. We'd be fools to just get rid of that. We might find a use for him at some point. So
Well, yeah, anybody who saw him at the Battle of Thalen Field take out that Thunderclast in one stroke probably is like, maybe he could help us in some way.
yeah, it's like yeah, maybe he can face judgment, after we've won. So we'll see. But yeah, no, like a good set of chapters just to sort of reset. All right, here's where all these people are.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that, but you're right. We are checking in with several folks and being like, okay, where do we sit right now?
Yeah.
And yeah, how little concerned Vasher is about the person hunting him. I mean, presumably he taught Vivenna like everything she knows more or less, so maybe he's just like, yeah, whatever. But
I know what she's capable of.
Oh,
It's like, yeah, she was a lousy student, and you were a lousy teacher by design.
He's like, yeah, she could change her hair color. She thinks she's so great with her royal locks.
oh, I want to see these people. I want to see all three of these characters meet back up, Nightblood and Vasher and Vivenna, and see what happens. But this isn't that book. It's not the second Warbreaker book,
Yeah,
And that's is a second Warbreaker still on the table?
I think I think he still expects to do it at some point. A book called Nightblood about a sequel to Warbreaker. So.
Right, because like that will have to function as sort of like a sequel to a lot of the Stormlight books as well, given how much has happened with those characters in them.
Yeah, I think it'll be before Stormlight.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it bridges that gap.
I suspect that is what we'll see, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, who knows when it'll be now, because he's working on the next Mistborn trilogy. He wants to finish all of the books in this major trilogy before he releases the first one, because he did that with the first Mistborn trilogy, and it really allowed him to like
1 year.
Yeah, but it also really allowed him to set everything up. Like, he'd already written the payoff that Sazed is the hero of ages and has the stuff on his arms, so then he can go back to that first book and write on the first page like, I'll hold the fate of the world on my arms, and it allowed him to make it all so cohesive. And so he's doing that again with the next one. So he's got that, and he's got the Hollywood stuff that he's working on, that he's planning on writing, the movie. And they announced that the Stormlight series, the first season, will have 10 episodes, which, hey, there you go. Who would have thought? And he wants to write that. I don't know if he's planning to write every episode or whatever, but he said that like he's going to be doing the writing on this. So,
oh boy,
that's a lot of stuff creeping in that is pushing back on. We got the Nightblood, the Warbreaker sequel. We've got the there's supposed to be 2 more Elantris books coming, I think, and stuff like that. So we shall see. But I guess let's go ahead and move into these chapters, guys. Chapter 15 is The Light and the Music, and the epigraph is about Logic Spren, who react curiously to imprisonment. We didn't think that there was anything useful about them at first, until we discovered that they vary the light they radiate based on stimuli, and this allowed us to construct things like Fabrial clocks. But when you tap with certain metals, the light changes from bright to dim, and that's led to some interesting stuff. Okay. It's interesting to me, the possibilities there, because basically, if you can make light turn on and off, that that's the beginning of like you got a binary language right there, either on or off.
Yeah.
And so that's like moving into computer territory eventually.
Computers run by Spren. That would be interesting.
Although we've already seen that in the future of the Cosmere, they have like awakened metal mind computers or something. Whatever they called it in Tress, I forget. I'm like throwing random words together, but
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
so we start out with Kaladin, who is trying to decide what to do with his now that he's retired or promoted or whatever you want to call it. He hasn't really told anyone other than Adolin, and he kind of doesn't come up with anything before the 10-day deadline Dalinar gives him. So Dalinar's like, dude, come on.
Well, he's telling different people they're getting promotions, so do they know that he's like stepping away? Like I'm wondering.
That wasn't until the 10 days, like where
Dalinar. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Dalinar's like, okay, you can have more time, but we're going to start giving your duties to other people. And that's where they have the big ceremony that's like, Kaladin's role is evolving, and Sigzil will be in charge of the daily administration. And Scar is going to be like the overseeing the active missions in the field.
My boys, Sigzil and Scar, getting their flowers. I'm here for this.
I mean, Sigzil is the perfect choice to have like overall like administrative lead from the team. So that makes sense.
Like if you want someone in charge of field activities, Scar survived the siege of Alethkar and came out alive and brought the prince out. So he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, you got to imagine him and Drahe got some fame on them from that sort of thing. And so yeah, they have the big ceremony, and he's glad that afterwards no one forced a party. And really no one's like surprised or anything, because like this is what happens. Somebody, this big hero, he's the leader for long enough, he gets promoted into doing something else. They don't know what, because he doesn't know what, but everyone figures, he's probably going to be, like a tactical general or something. Yeah, he has no idea.
Yeah. I wonder, like, the people that know him best, like the people that were the original parts of Bridge 4 that are still there, like, did they know something else was going on? Or, like, because, like, they know Kaladin so well, would they be like, this doesn't make sense for him?
Maybe.
So I'm wondering,
Well, and we know that, like, the people close to him in Bridge 4, and, in the Windrunners in general, like, in that last mission, they could sense that, like, he wasn't in the best place. People kept being like, hey, are you okay? He's like, yes, I'm okay, stop asking. So, yeah, maybe they've put 2 and 2 together.
That reminds me, sorry, just backpedaling to who got the promotions. It's like, while I'm here for Scar getting his bit, I did wonder, not Teft? Like, Teft was the first one, aside from Kaladin, to bond a Spren, and he's also, the drill sergeant. Like, he knows how to command. So, like, I did wonder about that.
Agreed. That was my first question at that point. Like, wait, but what about Teft? Maybe he didn't want to be in charge. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he's like, I like the fire moss too much still.
Hopefully.
He's getting the moss under control, though, isn't he?
Yeah. So, we haven't seen him in this book at all, have we? Or no, we saw him a little bit maybe in that battle. But
he was one of the ones checking on Kaladin after the battle.
Yeah. You're right. So we saw him a little bit, but who knows? I don't think that we've gotten some personal time with him yet. Syl appears as a ship with sails on the bottom and says, I saw Navani drawing this a few weeks ago. So I feel like we've seen that picture that she's talking about there. And she's like, hey, where are we going? And Kaladin says, I'm going to the sparring grounds. I'm going to, against my better judgment, seek wisdom there. And he gets there, and we find out he's looking for Zahel. And they're like, oh yeah, Zahel, he's on laundry duty today. And Syl's like, wait, why are we looking for Zahel? That guy's weird.
Like, Syl, who are you to talk?
Yeah, for real. Kaladin is uncomfortable with the other Ardents because they're very deferential to him. Like, Kaladin Stormblessed has become like this figure, like a legendary figure. And even the people of religion, the Ardents, are like kind of bowing and looking at him so different. And so he's like, yeah, that's weird. Trying to get advice from them seems strange. And so, yeah, Zahel does not respect anybody, so it's fine. I'll go talk to him. I like the note that 9 out of 10 high storms don't get high enough to hit them at Urithiru, which I think before we were just like, oh yeah, high storms don't come this high. So every once in a while you get one up here. But that means they don't get like the creme, the water that falls with all the nutrients in it for the plants, which makes it harder to grow crops. but also it's like colder with thinner air up here. So, and then we go and see R'laine, who's trying to help them grow crops. And Kaladin, there's a note about like, we asked the question, and he says here, it was weird to him how many people missed this obvious question about the battles on the Shattered Plains. Why do the Parshendi want the gemstones? Why are they losing all of these people fighting for these gemstones? The Alethi want soulcasters, or stuff for soulcasters, but also wealth. The Parshendi, it turns out, didn't have any soulcasters, but they found another way to use gemstones to help grow plants. You can use the light from gemstones to stimulate growth.
But you also are required to sing a rhythm, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's the tough part for the humans, is you have to do the singing, and R'laine is trying to teach them how.
Yeah, you got these humans clustered around a plant singing American Pie, and it's actually just making it die faster.
And there's a real interesting note that R'laine is wearing war form. He doesn't like how it makes people kind of interact with him, but if he wears work form, they treat him like a parchment, and that's even worse. So he'd rather be like looked at sideways than treated like a slave, basically. So, which, geez, come on, people, can you really not like make an exception for one guy and treat him differently than you would these others?
Poor Elaine.
Yeah.
You have to think he'd be just as well known as Kaladin around these parts now. It's like the one Parshendi.
Yeah, that's on our side.
On the side of the humans.
Yeah.
Like, everyone would know who he is. It's like, come on.
Yes, he should also be famous and loved.
Is Kaladin loved, or is he more feared?
Oh, okay, maybe it's both. Fair.
I think he's respected.
He's respected. That's what I was about to say. I think that's the word. Yeah, I don't know that the general public is like scared of Kaladin. Like, he's not going to attack them. I don't know.
If everyone, it's fine. If we just say we hate Amaram, he's going to leave us alone.
Well, Amaram's dead now, so it's easy. Yeah.
Yep.
If as long as nobody says that they liked Meredith Amaram and wish he were still here.
you know those you see him, the Magneto was right shirts. There's a dude walking around with an Amaram was right shirt, and it's like, oh man, you're about to get storm blessed.
I mean, he would deserve it. Let's be fair. That's like Moash did nothing wrong.
Oh god, are there Moash's was right shirts?
Probably. So R'laine's like, oh, hey, I couldn't make that meeting. Anything? How'd it go? And Kaladin decides like he doesn't want to go through it with R'laine right now. He's like, oh, well, yeah, Scar and Sigil got promotions, but somebody can fill you in later. I don't want to talk about it. But Kaladin's like, so I found you an honor spren. And R'laine's like, what, really? And Kaladin, maybe he's telling R'laine this wrong, or
Yeah.
maybe the whole thing was just handled badly. But
I think Kaladin is our kind of like innocent like eye into how culturally like they just don't understand what's going on with this character, R'laine. It's like he's trying to do good things, but he's just like, yeah, so we're gonna force this friend to bond with you. He's like, wait, force? Like, no, I did this. I don't care. I don't want that. No, that's not what I want.
And you totally get R'laine's perspective for sure.
Yeah, I will say it's like, I guess it is better that Kaladin tells him up front than he says, oh yeah, we got a spren for you. R'laine bonds the spren, and then the spren goes, yeah, Kaladin forced me to do this.
Yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, I think Kaladin just handled the whole thing badly in the first place, because he never imagined that somebody would react badly to it. But he's like, so yeah, I told that spren either he has to bond with you or think about bonding with you, or he had to leave. We don't want him around here. And so this morning he said that he agreed to try and bond with you. And he even goes as far as to be like, I get the sense he'll take any chance he can to wiggle out of the deal, so be careful. And R'laine's just like,
as if I don't have enough shit in my life. Now I gotta try and bond with this friend who doesn't even want me.
Yeah. And so he tells Kaladin, like, would you want to take a spren who was forced to do it? And Kaladin's like, well, I mean, considering the circumstances, I'd take what I could get. And R'laine's like, right. The circumstances of me existing. Like,
yeah, Carl, there's no real good way out of this, mate. You've accept that you've dug your hole, just apologize and leave him alone now.
He does like dig deeper. Yeah. And R'laine has to be like, okay, let me come at this another way. Do you know how I end up in the bridge crew? My owner quote owner, because he kind of snuck in there. He called his wife to help him add up some figures, and not thinking, I gave him the answer he was looking for. He's like, it was stupid. I'd been embedded among the Alethi for years. I got careless. And so over the next few days, he kept watching me, and he's like, he didn't suspect I was a spy. He just was uncomfortable with a clever parshman. And so he was like, hey, here, take this one for the bridge cruise.
It's like that guy said a thing that was the answer to the thing. He's too smart. Get him out of here.
Yeah. And so Relane's like, I don't want somebody who's forced to bond with me, and I don't think you should force a Spren into a bond. Like, that seems like a bad situation all around. Also, I think this is the first time we find out he's like, you guys have named me a squire, but I still can't draw Stormlight like everyone else. So, I mean, we knew last book he hadn't figured it out, but this is a confirmation that he never did. And he goes, there's some sort of wedge between me and the Stormfather, I think. Strange. I expected prejudice from humans, but not from him. And Kaladin doesn't like this answer and is kind of thinking to himself, like, how can I make this work? And then part of it is like, or maybe you should do what you promised him and just listen for once. He's like, okay, fine. And then he goes off to find Zahel, who there's a bunch of lines hung out here for drying washing. I love the sentence, Zahel was everything Kaladin's instincts told him to avoid.
Good sentence, but what does it mean? Like, is there, like, I don't get it.
Well, because he says that, like, a neatly pressed coat doesn't win you a battle, but it tells you about the kind of guy you're dealing with. Scraggly soldiers and ripped clothing tends to show that, like, these guys don't take care of their business that well.
Nah, I think it's just the mask. Because I think, like, we know he's extremely intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, he wants people to stay away from him.
Well, and that's what Kaladin says. The only explanation is Zahel dresses this way on purpose to mislead people. Zahel was a masterpiece painting intentionally hung in a splintered frame. Another good sentence. So, and he gets the impression as Syl flies away and Zahel reacts. He's like, he can see her, which is also weird because Rock and Cord are the only ones he knows that can see Spren when they don't want to be seen.
Yeah, it's called, what is it? He's got the heightening. Is that what it is?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Kaladin just thinks like maybe he's got some Horn-Eater blood in his family. And so Zahel's like, why have you come to bother me today? I need some advice. Well, find something strong to drink. It can be better than Stormlight. And he admits, he's like, I'm being forced into retirement. And Zahel goes, well, congratulations. Take the pension. Let all this be someone else's problem. And so he admits that Kaladin, he's like, I'm thinking about, And Zahel's like, oh, you're thinking about joining us. All right, well. And Cal says, well, why did you join the Ardents? And he's like, I learned that conflict would find men no matter how hard I tried. I no longer wanted a part in trying to stop them.
What does that mean?
Yeah. I mean, he was originally called Warbreaker. Maybe he was dedicated for a long time to trying to stop war and eventually realized that he couldn't do it.
Yeah, or like, he tried to just be out of the middle of things and be kind of like, because in Warbreaker it seemed like at that point he was kind of living a nomadic lifestyle, but then he got drawn into conflicts. So it's like he's probably just like, I was just tired of like constantly being drawn into things I was trying to stay out of.
And then Kaladin says, but you couldn't give up the sword. And he says, oh, I gave it up. Best mistake I ever made. And I wonder if he's thinking like the sword as opposed to the sword,
Oh, no,
I think he is. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I got rid of that damn thing. Also, interesting that he says it's a mistake. So, like, again, what's the story?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just so much context we're missing here.
Oh, so much. And so he keeps asking Kaladin, why do you think you belong with us? And eventually he's like, okay, to prove that you belong, land a strike on me. And Kaladin's like, what, like hand to hand? Because Zahel has no weapons. And he's like, no, you use your sword.
I like how he then has to tell Kaladin, it's like, also, but I'm a guy, so that's a shard blade. Don't dull it. Like, don't actually kill me.
I don't want you to kill me, idiot. Yeah. And I love Kaladin standing there like, okay, so how do we start? And then Zahel just goes at him. It's funny. And so Zahel's like ducking in and out of the sheets that are hanging on these lines, and Kaladin's trying to follow him. And for those of us who understand who he is and what he can do, you see the little pieces of it in here as like sheets like grab at Kaladin or like pieces of cloth do stuff that seem unusual to him. But Kaladin doesn't know anything about any of this.
I do love that he goes, this is this isn't the wind. Something else is happening here.
Mm-hmm.
I know the wind.
Yeah, which is weird because Azure did stuff like this, and it's like he should. I feel like he should be smart enough at this point to put that together. It's like, oh, this is kind of similar to what Azure was doing.
See, I don't think that he actually saw Azure do it. We saw like situations where she was setting up, like she asked for like pieces of cloth that looked like this that were gonna, and like some rocks or something. So we could put together, oh, she's gonna like awaken the cloth to fight or throw rocks or something. But I don't think Kaladin actually saw it happen.
Yeah, and maybe we as the readers were just giving that description, but I thought he saw her like using cloth in one arm and stuff, but maybe not.
There was one scene where
he
he's
did
like,
too.
yeah, there was a scene where she had some cloth wrapped around her arm, and he didn't understand what that was for. And I don't know that he saw her use it as an awakening thing. I don't even know if that's. I thought, because we've seen Seth use Nightblood, and it gets like the little veins of blackness that crawl up his arm when he's using it too long. And I was like, maybe her sword does something similar, and she was using the cloth to hide that. I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, he knows there's a connection between the two, because like last time he saw Azure, she straight up just mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, I'm coming for him, by the way. And he's talking to Adolin as like the man who trained you with the sword, and Cal has gone, oh, that guy? So yeah, he knows there's a connection there.
Yeah. And they kind of talk while they're fighting. Zahel's like, why do you want to do this? Why do you fight? And Kaladin's like, I fight for Alethkar. And Zahel's like, what? You asked me to sponsor you as a swordmaster and then lie to me immediately? Why do you fight? And he says, I fight to protect my men. And Zahel's like, that's closer. But your men are as safe now as they could ever be. Why are you still fighting? Yeah, okay, Zahel deflects a strike with his arm that he's wrapped in cloth. So yeah, something about, I don't know what they're using the cloth for, but it does seem like a similar technique that they're using here.
Yeah, I mean, I would think of it as like if you can awaken the cloth and make it, which I don't remember. Did we know, like, could they make the things more or less durable? But like, if you could make it hard, like a shield, it's like basically an easy, cheap thing to use as a shield.
I don't know that we saw that. We saw him awaken like his cloak to like try to intercept blows or something, I think, and his pants and sleeves could become stronger and help him grip and climb. But I don't know that they were more solid in any way.
I think you made a comment a bit later, like you'd be surprised at how like effective it is at blocking a blade, like just having
A bunch
all
of
that
cloth,
cloth.
yeah.
So he could just be using it as a shield, like for his arm, maybe. Or he's just making it up and telling Kaladin that, so he's not suspicious of investiture, maybe.
Yeah. Zahel like whips a scarf at him, and it like grabs Kaladin's hand tightly, and he's like, "What the? How to do that?"
And
yeah,
I do have to ask, you know, seeing this battle, and it's like, you said yourself, it's like for those of us who know who he is and what he can do, like, at what point, like, if you hadn't accidentally spilled to us who he was back in Words of Radiance, was there a point you had lined up where you were going to tell us if we hadn't figured it out who he was?
So yes, and I think we talked about it at the time, but it's been a while since we did that. Basically, it was when Nightblood shows up that I was going to confirm for you guys who Vasher or who Zahel was. But
so you were like one episode away from the finish line when you. When
yeah,
that
it was.
happened.
I think it was like 2 episodes, but yeah. And and so there was an argument to be made for waiting until this point and seeing what you guys thought of that but we knew after Words of Radiance as like as the fandom, because Brandon confirmed it. And so in that situation I was like, I think you guys will benefit more from knowing than from not knowing until Words of Radiance, or until Rhythm of War. But
no, you're wrong. This is Wind and Truth.
It was a consideration to wait until this point, and I was like, yeah, let's not. And there's a question about God, because Kaladin, the Almighty, because Kaladin wants to become an Ardent here. And he's like, what, you don't think it's relevant what you think about the Almighty to becoming a religious man? And Kaladin talks about like what Navani and Dalinar and Yasna think, and he's like, yeah, I don't care what they think. I'm asking you. And Kaladin's like, I don't know that anybody knows. And at one point, like, Zahel gets the claws to like wrap Kaladin's wrists up as well, and Kaladin tries to headbutt him. I just love, he keeps seeing all these cloths do all this weird stuff, and he's just like, oh, that's strange, whatever. This guy's just really good, I guess. And he's like, hey, I think I've seen this fighting style before. You fight like Azure does. And she goes, no, he goes, no, she fights like me. She's hunting you, I think. And he's like, yeah, Adolin told me. fool of a woman will have to get through cultivation's perpendicularity first, so I'm not holding my breaths. I'll have the capital B breaths waiting for her to arrive.
Yeah,
That
so
was one good thing about reading it rather than listening to it this time, because I was like, if I was listening, you wouldn't catch that.
Except for it being plural. I'm just like, who says holding their breaths? But it's like, makes sense.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
probably a thing on that planet. It's like breaths.
And I love Kaladin's like, well, what about you, Sahel? Do you believe in God or the Almighty or whatever? And he's like, oh, I mean, I don't have to believe. I know gods exist. I just hate them. All right, thanks. And so when we get to the end of the fight, like Zahel beats Kaladin, and Kaladin's like, you cheated. You're doing something with those sheets in that cloth. And he's like, what? It's not cheating because it wasn't about winning or losing. It was about me seeing how you fight. I can tell a lot about a man when the odds are against him. And he tells Kaladin, you can't join the Ardents. You don't belong with us. You love the fight, Kaladin. Not with the thrill, like Dalinar used to feel. You love it because it's part of you. You'd find daily training unsatisfying.
Which he's not wrong.
Yeah.
No, he's not wrong, but at the same time, like, I get he needs like a blessing from Zahel in this, but also he could just like ask one of the other Ardents and they'd be like, yeah, that's fine.
True. But Zahel tells him, return when you hate the fight. Truly hate it. And he walks off. And I love the note. In case you weren't aware enough about what was happening here with the awakening, there's a moment where Kaladin's like, he's got a scarf, but it must be a different one because he started with this bright red scarf and the one he's got now is dull gray. So I guess he switched scarves at some point. It's like, yeah, because he doesn't know that you have to use color to awaken. In fact, a lot of people could have forgotten that by this point, but I love the little note there. And then we get, okay, so that was all fun. It's a fun fight scene, I will admit. I find the next part of the chapter more interesting, where they get into some deeper stuff, where it's like, are you like Wit? There's something weird about you, Zahel. And Zell's like, no, I don't know anyone who's quite like Hoyd. I knew him by the name Dust when I was younger, but he's got so many different names. And he says, you want to know what I am? I'm a lot of things, tired mostly, but also a Type 2 invested entity. I used to call myself Type 1, but I had to throw that whole scale out when I learned more about what was going on. That's the trouble with science, it's never done. And then he takes us through it. Although, first we got, Wit never gives me answers. And that's because Wit's an asshole. Anyway.
I love that line. It was great.
As if Sahel's not kind of an asshole.
But also, where's our chapter of him asking?
Yeah, we haven't really seen... it's been a while since we've seen Wit at all, I think.
He just, like, it sort of implies that he's hanging around. He's in Uruthuru.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I just want to imagine, like, we've got this chapter of Wit hanging around Shallan, just like, I've got your back. You're my girl, and I will look after you. And then Kaladin walks in and goes, what about me? And Wit just slams the door in his face.
It's like, you lost my flute, asshole.
I guess that Rock did mention that earlier. It's like, you shouldn't have lost his flute. So yeah, there's an implication he's around here. But Zahel pulls out a fossil, a small stone in the shape of a curling shell. And Kaladin's like, what is that, soul cast? And Zahel's like, well, it's a similar process, but it happens over like thousands and thousands of years. Minerals infuse the dead thing and replace it axon by axon with stone. Axon is just like their word for atom, I guess. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, Vasher, you gotta whip out the science.
And so he says, the place I came from didn't have any of these. It's too new. Which makes me think, wow, did Endowment create the planet Nalthus from nothing, like Ruin and Preservation did from Scadrial?
Must be.
And he's like, Roshar might have some deep down, but I doubt it. This stone is old, older than Wit or your heralds or the gods themselves. And my soul is like that fossil. Every part has been replaced with something new, though it happened in a flash for me. And Kaladin's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And so I was like, yeah. No, you don't.
He's like, I'm trying to tell you I'm returned, but you don't know what that is. So just leave me alone.
Yeah, he's trying to describe what happened to him. You know how you can make an imprint in creme and then let it dry and fill it with wax to create a copy of the original object? Well, that's what happened to my soul.
Yeah, which begs the question, like, because I don't know that it ever answered in Warbreaker, like, what's actually happening when they're returned? Like, is it like when they transport people in Star Trek? It's like their matter disappears and then an exact copy reappears in a different place.
So he gives a little information here about how type 2s is what he calls it, how that works. But where does it say that? Hold on. So yeah, he says if you let a man die with 2 invested a soul, or invest him right as he's dying, he'll leave behind a shadow you could nail back onto a body. His own, if you're feeling charitable. So that seems to be the okay. So hold on, let me go back. Let me take a step back. So we know what happened to Kelsier, right? He dies. He was invested when he died because he was mistborn, burning metal or whatever. So his cognitive shadow is what they called it, sticks around in the cognitive realm before disappearing. And he tricks preservation into infusing him with even more power, so he stays around longer. Yeah. So what Vasher is saying here happened is that either he was infused when he died, or he got infused right after. His cognitive shadow is still there. Endowment sticks him back in his own body. And that is what the returned is. We also know from Warbreaker that when they die, they get to see some stuff that's going to happen. They get a sense of like something that's going to happen in the future. And if it's like Lightsong saw what was going to happen in Titalir with the attempted overthrow of the government and thought it was important enough that he was willing to come back and try to change it. And that Endowment lets him come, or sends him back for that reason, to try to change the thing that he saw.
Yeah.
And people have asked Brandon about Vasher. It's like, so did he go through like the same thing? He saw something and Endowment's like gives him the opportunity to come back and change it. And I'm pretty sure Brandon has said, yes, that did happen. And I know somebody has asked him like, well, has he done the thing that he came back to do yet? And Brandon's like, no, either he hasn't done it yet, or he didn't do it when the opportunity came up, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that whatever that thing is, he probably failed, and now he's just here.
Maybe.
That would be my guess.
And we know Kelsier's back in a body, presumably through some maybe hemalurgy or something. He's nailed back into a body as well. He has that spike in his eye. So
why does it always have to be the eyes, man? It's just unnerving.
But the real question that it brings up is like the cognitive shadow that gets created. Is that like a soul? Is that the soul, or has the soul moved on? And he calls it here like a fossil of a soul. Like the soul left an imprint and it was filled with power, and now I'm a copy of what I was.
Yeah. So he, as far as we know, he's like of the mind of like, I'm not really me anymore. I'm like the imprint of me given form.
Yeah. And I feel like Kelsier would probably say the opposite, that he's still himself, like the original one. He's just been through some shit. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good, it's kind of like the two sides of the coin of like, which I know this is kind of not really the same, but the discussion reminded me of like the book, The Prestige, versus the movie, The Prestige, where he creates copies of himself. It's like in the movie, it's like, I don't know if I'm that one or if I'm this one.
Right. And he tells us that the heralds are similar things. They die and leave an imprint behind, power that remembered being them, and the power wants to be alive. Meanwhile, Syl he's like, that's what I now call a type 1 invested entity, because it's power that came alive on its own. You cut off a piece of divinity and leave it alone, it'll come alive. He's now a type 2 because he was a person and is now like a shadow nailed back into a body. Dead man walking. And Kaladin's like, I don't understand any of it. What a weird conversation this is. He's like, wait, you died? And he's like, yeah, keep up. The fused, also similar.
I love him. He's just like, yeah, idiot. I just told you that. Come on.
So yeah, the fused, along the same lines for the fused. And Kaladin's like, okay, but is there a way to like kill something like you permanently? He's like, oh yeah, lots of ways. For the weaker ones, just kill the body again and make sure no one invests the soul with more strength and they slip away. Type 2s feed on power, keeps them going, which is why he needs breaths. He needs breaths to stay here. I don't know about Kelsier, if he still needs power of some kind or other.
Well, I think we answer that by like the hemalurgical spikes are like a power that he just constantly feeds on, right?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because that's how the frickin' guys worked. Because they didn't have to burn anything; they just used their spikes, right?
No, I think that the Inquisitors still burned metal.
They did. I thought their spikes just gave them the power.
I think the spikes gave them the ability to use the power, but they still had to burn the metal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a whole discussion about like cutting an Inquisitor open to see if he had any adium in there to use.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, because otherwise, I guess they'd just have unlimited adium, and that would not be good.
He says there's other ways to disrupt their souls. The fused have lasted for thousands of years, connected to odium and feeding directly off his power, so you'll have to find a different way. You need a weapon so strong it unravels the soul. I know from experience those kind of weapons are dangerous to make and never seem to work right. Be wary of the fused. The longer one of us exists, the more like a spren we become, consumed by our singular purpose. Our minds bound and chained by our, capital I, intent. We're spren masquerading as men. That's why she takes our memories. She knows we aren't the actual people who died, but something else given the corpse to inhabit. He's being very introspective here, and Cal's like, wait, she? Who are we talking about?
Yeah. Interesting also, it's like explaining the process of like investing into a body. So like that begs the question, like the fused have the ability to just like get a new body. It's like
they go into a new body, yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like they can exist outside of a body long enough to just go into a new one. It's like, is that different for him? Because as far as we know, like if the return died, they die. Like, is there a way they could just go into another body? And how did that work? I don't know.
That's an interesting question. Yeah. Oh, and the one thing that I kind of skipped over was when Kaladin asks, "You died?" So Hell's like, "Yeah, it happened to your friend up there too, the one with that sword." And he's like, "Seth's not my friend." And we don't really address that anymore, which is why I kind of skipped over it. But yeah, so he definitely knows that dude's up there.
Seth's not my friend. He's not your friend. He's a weird guy. That's Seth.
But yeah, that's the end of that chapter. Is Hell just doesn't respond to the question about who is she, and then Kaladin takes off.
And I may just be forgetting, did we get an explanation from Nail, like how he actually brought him back?
He had some sort of fabrial that heals.
Okay. But like
we don't know any more than that.
It wasn't done quickly enough, so there's like a shadow follow. Like I don't get that.
Well, what he said is he waited until Seth died. Like that was an intentional thing. He waited until he was definitely dead and then brought him back. It was soon enough that he could still bring him back, and but yeah, something about that makes his soul slightly disconnected in some way, I guess, is the idea.
Weird.
Then our other chapter was our other chapter was an unknown song. And the final point in the epigraphs is the fused weapons. They have a variety of fabrial devices to fight radiance, and they made them quickly enough that it's clear like these are stuff they've used before. So, all right, interesting. And we cut to Navani, who has a sphere full of void light. It's strange light gathered during the Everstorm. We still don't know how enemies infuse spheres with void light. The ones they have were stolen from singers, but void light leaks out way more slowly than stormlight, so we still have it to examine. Rushu calls the color hyperviolet, a color she claimed existed in theory. I like Rushu, I don't know. And she also has the weird sphere that Seth got from Gavilar way back at the beginning of the very first book. And she's like, they look the same at first, but they're not. Like, this other sphere it like warps the air. It's just wrong somehow. And she's talking to Seth. She goes, "Assassin, look at me." And it's been 16 days since they got back with the fourth bridge. And this is her first chance to come down and talk to Seth, who is in prison, but still has his sword. That weird shard blade that leaks black smoke when you unsheath it. And it was Dalinar who's like, "I think the safest place to keep that thing is with him. Like, just leave the two of them in there." And Navani says, "I think we should sink that blade in the ocean like we did with the gemstone that had the thrill in it." So there's some news. The thrill is gone, sunk in the ocean. Assuming that, hopefully no one can find that.
Yeah, I don't know. When they said that they did that, I was like, that doesn't seem like the best idea, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, that we haven't seen the last of that now.
Yeah. Someone will go to the bottom of the ocean. It will happen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be that difficult, which, we don't know exactly how Odium's connection to the unmade work, but like, I feel like if he's as powerful as he seems to be, he could just be like, "Oh, I know exactly where he is. Let's go get him."
Maybe, yeah. Honestly, my first concern was, how deep water did you sink it in? You guys probably don't understand the pressure increase as you go lower and lower.
Yeah, but what's the
gemstone? I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, what's the properties of the gem? Can it be like cracked like that?
Good point. We don't know.
Yeah. It's like it gets unleashed, and it's like, what is happening in the oceans? We're being attacked by a Santhid with the thrill, the sand thrill.
Oh, the sand thrill. I like that.
Can thrill. At this point, it probably would have been safer to leave it locked up with Seth and Dal and I going, "Don't touch."
Maybe.
It's like they put the gemstone in there, and Seth, all right, you're in jail, but you still got to guard that thing. And Seth is like, okay.
Here's a job. Also, on some level, it just seems mean to me because we know the thrill. It's okay. It's not good to have around, but it also isn't like intentionally like evil. It's not intelligent enough for that. It just like
Is it
does its
not?
thing.
No, I thought it was like pretty intelligent.
No, we were told that it is like one of the mindless ones.
Oh,
It just kind of does its thing.
Just
And
wielded poorly.
its thing is bad. It influences people to fight and kill. But yeah, I don't know. Just seems mean to the poor thing.
I guess by that token, though, like, what are you gonna do with it?
I mean, yeah, that's true.
If it's also mindless,
mindless.
it's not gonna feel bad about being at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Data's thinking too hard now. He's like, this poor thing. It's like that thing doesn't know what's happening to it.
Navani also doesn't think Seth should be trusted with a blade, and thinks, frankly, he should have been executed.
I mean, responsible for the death of your husband and other monarchs. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If we were talking about justice in Alethi culture, I'm sure most of the stuff he did would warrant execution. So yeah, I get it.
Right.
But Dalinar says no. We leave Seth alive, and Navani's like, okay, I want you to tell me about the night you killed my husband. And he's like, well, yeah, the Parshendi told me to kill him. And she's like, well, weren't you curious why they wanted to kill a guy the same night they signed a peace treaty? And Seth's like, no, I do what my masters commanded because I thought I was truthless. And he says now he has a different thing. He's has found a better way. He's sworn an ideal to the Blackthorn. Whatever he wishes, I will make reality, which is a hell of a way to say that. Okay. And I love, she goes, what if Dalinar dies? And he goes, oh, I actually hadn't thought about that. I guess I'll find somebody else or something else.
That's a good point, though. Like, if the oath is broken because the person dies, like, does that have a physical effect on him, investiture-wise? Like, what does that do?
And she's like, how could you not think of that? And he goes, I just didn't. And she's like, oh, geez, this guy is dangerous. Like,
to be fair, like, it sounds like he's been through a lot, lady. Which, she's got her own stuff going on.
And so she's like, okay, well, tell me about when Gavilar died. What happened? And Seth says, yeah, we fell. He was dying. He made our last request. And my people consider this a holy thing, a man's dying request. He spoke some names, which I don't remember, asking if those men had sent me. And then he gave me the thing, the sphere. He trusted his own murderer more than those who surrounded him. And Ivani's like, I mean, including me, I guess, which is fucked up.
But not surprising at this point, though, considering
not after what we saw. Yeah. And it says that they only found out about this sphere even existing a month ago because Navani was like, oh, hey, and asked about the night that Gavilar died. Seth just would have not said anything because no one bothered to ask.
I know we've talked about this before, but do you mind going back to the first book data and pulling up what names he mentions?
So he says, like, tell Thydakar that he's too late or whatever, and Seth's like, yeah, I don't know who that is. And then he goes, what, Rastaris? Sadius? And Seth's like, no, it was the Parshendi. Okay.
So we get Thydakar, Rastaris, who Shallan's looking for, and then Sadius. Got it.
So yeah, we know that he thought the leader of the Ghost Bloods was after him, which makes sense given that we know he was involved with the Sons of Honor. And then when he found out that's not, he was like, "Whoa, are the Sons of Honor taking me out?" Because Rastaris is the leader of that. And if not him, wow, did Sadius finally pull a really impressive stab in the back?
So wait, Thydakar. How do we know who Thydakar is again?
That's come up before.
Yeah, in the last section we read, Mraize mentions like Master Thydakar said this, like he's the leader of the Ghost Bloods.
Okay,
it has been mentioned before that though, hasn't it? I swear in words of
yes, we've heard the name a few times.
Yeah. If Thydakar's the leader of the Ghost Bloods,
even Amaram, like when Amaram in that scene where Amaram says like Rastaris is right, I should take this thing. He also says like Thydakar's people are getting bold because he thinks that it was the Ghost Bloods who sent somebody after him.
So if
Yeah.
Thydakar is the leader of the Ghost Bloods, and if the Ghost Bloods are the same as the ones on Scadrial, then is it Kelsey or Thydakar? Is that what we're could believe in this situation?
Could
I
be.
guess.
I think we've talked
Yeah.
about that before.
We have.
I think that's. I think that's. Yeah, I think that's what we said. It's like, well, assuming that it's the same group and this isn't just like an agent or a lieutenant or something, then yeah, like that could be Kelsier.
Yeah.
Thydakar, Kelsier. What's the other name they have for him on Scadrial besides the Savior
The survivor.
or the Survivor? I mean,
Survivor.
what's the other name that the island people had for him?
Oh,
Don't
oh
remember.
shoot. They called him
They called him the Lord Ruler, I think, or something.
Well, no,
They
we thought
thought
he
he
was
was
the
the Lord
Lord
Ruler.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They call him the Sovereign.
the Sovereign.
Sovereign.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know they started calling that because they were calling him the Lord Ruler, and he's just like, what? No,
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 no, I
love,
don't.
don't
I
love
hate
me
that
with
guy.
that guy.
I don't like that guy. Call me something else.
I cannot think of a worse name you could have given me.
You could have called me Mark, I guess, but
And so Navani notes that she's like, I'm all in favor of comforting the sick of mind, but we should take evil talking shard blades away from them before that. And she thinks maybe it's an honor blade that's been corrupted. Like, this is a weird blade. It had been given to Seth by one of the heralds, so it would make sense if it was an honor blade. She found it difficult to study, however, because being around Seth made her feel sick. At least the sword spren had stopped speaking into the minds of those who passed by. So I love that it's in the prison cell board with Seth, and anytime somebody walks by, it's like, hey, what's going on?
he's probably like, "Hey, you want to destroy some evil?" Or and
Yeah.
they're like, "Wait, what?" Can
I wonder if there's that one guard who's convinced the sword can't actually talk and thinks Seth is just a really good ventriloquist.
he's just like, "Hey, you guys want to go kill somebody?" They're like, "Whoa, no." He's like, "Really? Man, you guys are boring."
And so she can't stay around to ask him questions for too long because she starts feeling sick, which we know is an effect of the sword, but she seems to associate it with being around the guy who killed her husband, which also fair probably, but
I mean, could be a bit of both, yeah.
yeah. And as she's about to leave, Seth, it says calm and almost completely emotionless, goes, "Do you hate me?" And she says yes, and he goes, Good, thank you. And she takes off. Wow. All right,
Good
then.
talk. Good talk.
And so she goes up into the Cloud Garden, a garden balcony set at the base of the 8th tier, and she's walking around, getting some air. And here's the nursemaid with Gavinor, who runs over and gives her a hug. And she says that it looks like he's improving. Over the past year, like the trauma is wearing off a little bit, although he's still too solemn for a boy of 5. And he's like, Graham, I rode a horse. Adolin helped me, but it was a big horse, and I wasn't scared at all. It's just so cute. She's pissed off at Aesudan for what she did to this child and for letting all that stuff happen. But she's also pissed at herself because if you'll remember, they had left Navani behind to help Aesudan run the kingdom, and Navani left to return to the Shattered Plains.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, she kind of blames herself. As like, if I'd have stayed, maybe none of that would have happened.
Yeah. Maybe Aesudan wouldn't have fallen to one of the Unmade. And then she's like, whatever, you can't blame yourself for everything. And Gavinor wants Grandpa to teach him the sword. And she's like, oh, I'm sure he will eventually. And Gav's like, well, other boys my age learn the sword. Which, damn, they start teaching them young.
I was going to say, I can imagine my 5-year-old. Can I learn a sword? Absolutely not. I don't trust you with a stick.
Right?
I got my son a foam sword, but even that, it's like sometimes I'm like, that's too hard. Stop hitting me.
Yep.
I know some people who started teaching their daughter to use a gun at 5 or 6
Oh,
for like
jeez.
hunting and stuff. And I was just like, I cannot imagine. Like the girl is grown now and she's a very responsible adult now. But when they told me about this, I was just like, what the?
Yeah, I mean it's a thing for sure, and I get it like to some extent, but
I mean, it's good to be responsible if they're teaching them to be responsible, I guess. But it's just that seems so young to me. Whatever, not my business.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's just like, no, don't worry about it. And he's like, but if I have a sword, nobody will be able to hurt me. I'll be able to find the men who killed my father and kill them. Or the man who killed my father. And I could kill him.
That's probably why we're not going to give you a sword right now, bud.
And she's just like, hey, buddy, don't worry about it. Which I feel like you should probably get into a little bit more when the guy's like, I want to find the guy who killed my father and murder him. And you're just like, hey, it's fine. He needs more help than that. And he's just like, well, will you talk to Grandpa about it, please? And she's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair for her, which she mentions, it's like, although that is kind of a disturbing thing to say, it's also a very Alethi thing to say. So it's not like
Mm,
super out of the
Mm.
ordinary for a child, even as young as him, to say something like that.
that's true. And then she gives Gavinor back to the nursemaid and takes off. And she's thinking about her son again, and he'd been growing over those last few years into something great, better than Gavilar. Yeah, just a mother should never have to grieve for her children. Yeah, it's fair. And it's sad because like she had a whole grieving period for Yasna as well before we found out Yasna came back. Elhokar not coming back, and we meet up with some Ardents. Oh, I'm sorry, and a Storm Warden, and we're finding out that the barometer acts differently up here than it does down there when a high storm is on the way. So hey, that's super interesting from a weather science perspective. Not only that, we'd question how much colder it is up here on the cloud walk than down near the fields. It's actually warmer up here. And she's like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. It's 5 degrees colder down there? This defies our understanding of how any of this works. And I love, because this is totally new, they have to come up with theories. Why would this be? And they're like, maybe what's natural near sea level is inverted up this high? Which I think we know makes absolutely no sense to just be like, yeah, maybe just temperature works different up here than down near sea level. But they have to ask questions like, what could be doing this? And here comes Dalinar with Taravangian, our good buddy.
No.
I was surprised. I was like, where are we all sitting on the Taravangian thing? Because it was like, well, obviously things were not good. And then it was talking about, I think it was in the last set of chapters, that don't worry if we was like basically set Taravangian up to fail or something. I was like, where is Taravangian? What is he doing? Oh, he's still here, but like not really. He's no longer trusted with anything, which I'm relieved about, but also get rid of him. Send him away.
It's a weird thing because I feel like even though they're not trusting him with anything, they're still not taking the proper precautions, obviously, because he's in communication with the Fuse. So it's like, what, like, why are you guys just letting him kind of just hang out? Do you not think he can do anything?
Yeah,
Like,
he doesn't get to be in the
Your
inner
enemy's
circle, but he's
close.
still here.
right? Like, are you? I think there's after Dalinar learns what he learns about him. It's like, how are you still underestimating this person? Like, he told you. Well, I guess to me, it's like a person will tell you something they're willing to tell you because there's other things they're not willing to tell you when they're your enemy. You know what I mean? Like this person is telling you this one thing. What are they not telling you? That's the thing you should be more worried about. So like, but whatever, man. Yeah, Dalinar.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we'll put Seth in jail, but the guy who sent him, oh no, he can just like we're not even going to confine him to quarters.
Well, so it indicates here that everyone in the coalition knows the stuff that Seth did now, and it's like that made it difficult, or the stuff Taravangian did. It increased tensions within the coalition, but for now they all agree that fighting Odium is a more important battle. And you have to remember, Taravangian, with Alethkar fallen in enemy hands, Taravangian has what may be the most powerful military in the coalition, because he is the king of Yakaved. It's a major piece of real estate, and also guys who have been fighting against the Alethi for hundreds of years and are well-trained soldiers themselves. So it's kind of hard to just like, nah, get him out of here. But
Still, I get that. I get it. But like, it's another Amaram situation. It's like you're just waiting for him to use that army to turn it against you when it is the least convenient for that to happen. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but they still believe that they've got a common enemy. That's like, yes, Taravangian has done these things. He's what do you call it? He wants more power, but Odium is still all of our enemy.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems real short-sighted to me.
I'm not gonna
Maybe it's just
disagree.
because we know what we know.
Yeah. And I love the note that's like some of our moral high ground in this whole thing was lost when Dalinar's memoir came out.
It's like, yeah, here's all the stuff I did. Which, like, it's funny. We still don't know. Like, did Adolin and Renarin know that stuff before the book came out? Because that would be a real crummy way to find out.
And I like the Kholin troops are now kind of like they walk slump shouldered. It says now, and their heads no longer held quite so high. But the thing is, it says everyone knew about all the horrible stuff that happened during that war. Maybe not the specifics of like his wife and stuff, which that's a big deal for Adolin and Renarin, but probably not that big a deal for anyone else. That's just one more death. But because they did this to like build the kingdom, as long as Dalinar had been willing to pretend that these had been noble actions, everyone else pretended along with him. But now that he's like, no, this was fucked up shit that I did, suddenly they have to kind of feel ashamed. It's just so weird to me.
Yeah, it seems a bit incongruous.
And then she finds a guy. She's like, hey, weren't you a jeweler? And he's like, oh, yeah, so I am sometimes. I put a few hours in the mint last week. And she's like, hey, what do you think about this weird sphere? And I love that it's a girl. I may have said it was a guy. She pulls out a jeweler's loop. Like, she just has it ready to go. I love when somebody just has that kind of shit. And she's like, oh, man, this is really interesting. Hey, Nem, come over and take a look at this. It's practically flawless. This sphere is worth thousands. It probably holds Stormlight for months, maybe longer. And she says it was left in a cave for over 6 years and was glowing with that same blackness when it was retrieved. So, yeah. And even Talna is this person's name. She can tell. It seems like it must be Voidlight, but it feels wrong. And, hey, can we keep this to study? And Navani's like, yes, please. Run, like, all the tests you can think of, basically, to figure out what the hell's going on with this. Maybe try to put it in some Fabrials. And Nem, the other person, says, well, Voidlight doesn't work in Fabrials, but maybe this isn't Voidlight. And so she leaves the sphere to be studied by the professionals who study this kind of stuff. She's got other stuff she has to be about. And there's a note that she talked to R'lain, and he said that Gavilar had given Eshonai a Voidlight sphere before the Everstorm. And when Navani showed him the second sphere, his reaction had been curious. He'd said, I don't know what this is, Brightness, but it feels painful. Voidlight is dangerously inviting. It vibrates wrongly against my soul, whatever this is. It has a song I've never heard. So yeah, something weird. And then Adolin and Shallan show up with the mink, who they've been entertaining the last few weeks, showing him around. And Shallan's over here like, hey, can you show me how to get out of handcuffs? I think that's really cool. I want to learn. Which I totally believe she would be into. It's not a particularly seemly hobby for a well-connected young woman, he tells her. And she's like, oh, hey, I'm anything but well-connected. I keep finding pieces of myself lying around forgotten.
It's such a weird thing to say.
She's like making these jokes, and they're like a little too true to be funny, if I feel like.
That, and like, that the mink doesn't know what the heck she's talking about.
No, for those who know, and probably Adolin sitting there is going, oh, this is just uncomfortable. Please don't joke about it that way.
It would be cool for her to learn how to get out of cuffs, because then she could just use Stormlight to make it look like she's still in cuffs, and then she could get the drop on people like, haha!
I'd be kind of surprised that Vale didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. I guess Vale doesn't have any intrinsic knowledge that Shallan didn't have. She just kind of pretends that she does. So Vale would probably want to learn for sure. And then Adolin and Navani start talking about the mink. Why is he wearing those clothes? And then you look over and the mink's looking at the air vents. And Aelin's like, he's plotting to sneak away again. He's lost us 5 times today. I suspect it wouldn't be that bad if Shallan hadn't been so impressed the first time. Like, I love the mink. He's fun. And then Dalinar comes in and notes the fancy boots that Adolin is wearing. Partly because Adolin has them kicked up on the table to make sure they are noticeable. And Dalinar's like, decorum, discipline, dedication. And Adolin's like, detail, duel, dessert. Oh, were we not just saying D words? Sorry.
To be fair, kind of a douche thing to say to your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's disrespect. There's another D word.
Dalinar doesn't like glower at Adolin. He turns to Shallan and she's like, what? And he's like, he wasn't like this before you. And Shallan's like, oh no, Colin has learned to relax once in a while. And we're in Navani's perspective, so she's over here like, ugh. Neither of them will admit they're squabbling over Adolin. And Dalinar would insist he approves of the marriage, but he doesn't like one of his children being out under the influence of someone else, basically.
Yeah, which, a little controlling much, huh?
And on her side, she's like, yes, Adolin's being a little, provocative intentionally, but he's just exploring his identity outside of being the Blackthorn son. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, which, again, we don't know, like, again, if Adolin just found out about his mom, maybe stuff between him and his dad hasn't been, like, super hunky-dory.
Right. And Adolin and Shallan start bickering, good-naturedly, and the mink's like, smiling, reminds me of my son and his wife. And Dalinar's like, I should hope they're a little less frivolous. And the mink says, they're dead in the war. And I was like,
Wait,
oh,
yeah, whoa, okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Everstorm and Odium has cost us all much. And the Mink's like, no, not that one.
He's like, no, one with you.
Oh.
Awkward. And so he's like, you guys said there was going to be maps for me to look at, but I don't see any maps around here. Should somebody go get them? I want to see the troop layouts against the Voidbringers. And I was like, yeah, we don't call them Voidbringers anymore. It's proven to be an imprecise term. we call them the Singers. And
And so I wanted to tell the Mink, it's like, you are the Voidbringer.
I mean,
He's like,
kind of.
huh?
And so, but him and Shallan create their map, and that's the end of the chapter. So, all right. For next time, we're going to read the last 3 chapters of part 1. So we're doing 17, 18, and 19. 17 is called A Proposal. 18 is called Surgeon. And 19 is called Garnets. So, predicaments. Like I said, we're going to, that is the end of part 1 after chapter 19. That will bring us 23% of the way through the book. So almost a full quarter of the book before we move into the first set of interludes. What do you guys think? Where are we going? What's going to happen?
Oh man, I don't know. These chapters didn't really set up for like anything. I doubt the attempted invasion of Urithiru is going to happen before the end of the part. So I'm not sure. I mean, Surgeon's in there, so maybe we get to talk to Lirin, or maybe Kaladin's like leans into his more like surgical nature. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Like, is Kaladin going to settle on something that he wants to do, at least for now? You know, is there going to be some kind of, you know, they got the Mink there. So, like, what's the plan? Are they going to make a plan to kind of, like, strike back? Are they going to attempt to take Herdaz? Like, what's the plan? I don't know. I'm kind of just, like, in a holding pattern here. Like, I want to know what's going to happen. I can't. These Stormlight books throw me for a loop, man. There's just so much going on. It's like anything could happen.
Yeah, and part of it is that we're about to see the Mink. I don't know if we're going to see it. The Mink is about to look at the maps of what the current troop situation is. Mm-hmm. But it's been a year since we saw the most recent troop situation, so we can't even predict what conclusions he'll make when he sees it because we don't know exactly what he's going to see, right?
Right.
So yeah, understandable.
Sorry, wish I had more this week, but I'm really I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm a little bit with Joe there. I don't really have anything big this week. I do think before the end of the part, we'll see the return of the 4th bridge back to Urithiru. So I think they talked about the Mink was helping to make preparations for his people to come to Urithiru. So I guess that's sort of happening soon. Yeah, then it would make sense if Lirin is back to either get something from his viewpoint or Kaladin to have an opportunity now that he's not like so embedded in the army to maybe have a chat to him. Maybe that will be his direction forward. It would be nice to see these two be able to sort of reconcile a little bit. Seem pretty tense and strained between them. So yeah, maybe we'll get a little bit more of Kaladin's brother as well. Yeah, I'd be keen for another Singer's not Voidbringer, Singer's fused viewpoint because that's kind of where all the action was leading to with them last time. And Venli, making preparations to go and, thinking about capturing a Radiant. I'm like, if she's going to capture a Radiant, maybe Kaladin could be a decent candidate. He's not, I don't know how she'd do that, but, him not being so involved in the battles now, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a bit of a purpose there for Kaladin to not be kidnapped, but like help, I don't know, bridge a gap between them, especially if that's kind of a bit of a resistance to the fused, sort of. Yeah, I don't know. I can't see that playing out in the next 3 chapters. But I mean, part 1 could end with a kidnapping. You never know. Yeah, that's kind of all I've got at the moment. Nothing big.
It was interesting to me that you said that because one of the things that Kaladin mentions in the chapter that we read was like, well, there's another way. We could just talk to the fused and convince them to stop fighting, and we could find a way to live together instead of just killing each other. So that he's already talking about trying to like build a bridge there.
Exactly. Maybe there's a way forward. If you've got 2 parties that are willing to talk to each other, maybe that could work.
Although we know that the pursuer is going on the mission, and so if Kaladin is captured, he'd probably try real hard to kill the guy. Since that's
Definitely.
his whole shtick, so that could be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I too don't really have a lot this week. I was sort of toying with the idea that, all right, Kaladin doesn't know what he's going to do. And now that Lyran's back in the story, maybe he will go back to apprenticing as a surgeon under Lyran, or, working with him as a surgeon. And that's just going to mean, I don't know, I feel like we're just going to get a lot more conflict between the two. It's like, because we already know Kaladin is not the person who left. And like Lyran's brief appearance at the start of this book and then the last book is kind of just like, he's just being a bit self-righteous over Kaladin, so maybe that's not going to go so well. But Kaladin's like, well, what else am I going to do? This is the only other thing that I know in life, so let's try and take this up, and just realize he's not suited for it. So yeah, don't really know how that's going to play out, but that's the only thing I've really got.
I mean, yeah, with the chapter title, that would make sense. I'd totally buy that as a solid theory.
Yeah.
there.
And just coming up on the end of a part, maybe they're like, all right, 10 days are up. We've got a chapter called The Surgeon. The part is over. He's making his decision. He's going back to Dad.
I feel like that would be tough for Kaladin, but his father would probably be thrilled.
Yeah, my son's not going to be a soldier anymore. Huzzahs.
My son's going to stop killing people? Oh my gosh, this is the best.
Yeah, I like that thought, but I think Dalinar would want him to be doing like something at least more involved, like directly with what's going on in the conflict, even if it's not fighting.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he might still be like part of the council or,
Right.
advising on strategy, but just like not going into the field. He's just got to find something to do with his time when he's not on the council.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. He could do more than one thing. Yeah. Why not?
Old High Marshal Kaladin.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Solid idea. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Okay. We don't have any new patrons this week, but let's do some emails. Why not? Hey, this first one comes with a review. So get ready for that, Joe. This one is from Kendall, and it says, "Hi, Sanderlanche crew. I forgot to attach my review last time I wrote in, and since I just listened to the Jeopardy episode, I thought I'd also add that Jeopardy is actually very apt for the Sanderlanche, since Ken Jennings and Brandon were roommates in college. I watch Jeopardy most days and have been impatiently waiting on a Cosmere question, which as far as I know hasn't happened yet. Fingers crossed. I feel like I've seen someone post in the Reddit one time when some Brandon Sanderson stuff got brought up on Jeopardy, but I don't remember what it was. But yes, the new host of Jeopardy and Brandon, roommates in college at one point.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And here, this review has several words in here, so let me read this. You know something is good when you simultaneously want to consume the content as fast as possible to catch up and want to savor it so you always have more. This is how I felt reading through the Cosmere, which made me find this podcast in the first place, and is now how I feel about the Sanderlanche podcast too. Data does such a great job guiding the first-time readers through the vastness that is the Cosmere, and also recapping the events in the chapters for us listeners to recall what they're talking about. The new readers, Dak, Jamie, and Joe, are all very perceptive and come up with a great range of predictions from hilariously wrong to bafflingly accurate. If you're looking for an entertaining way to keep your Cosmere journey going while waiting for more books, or are starting out and want to read along with others, then I couldn't recommend the Sanderlanche more. 5 stars.
Wow, that was a really nice review.
It was.
Man, you really slid into our hearts with that review, you slider, you.
There you go. Thanks for that review. It was pretty cool. Let's do another email. This one is from Nelly Mandelli on the Discord. Hi, Data and crew. Mostly Data. I'm a bit behind and have just listened to chapters 6 through 9 coverage of Dawn Shard. I overheard in the endnotes that Data was considering beginning to read Discworld. This is very much supported. I'm amazed at how human/humane of a writer Terry Pratchett is. The way he can capture the wry satire in a book and have it reflect our reality absurdly. And then, yet just have the surprising depth of morals amidst it all. You can tell that he's not a writer trying to hit you over the head with a message, dropping anvils in trope parlance, but he simply asks you very occasionally just to consider the banality of humanity, or humanity of a situation for his characters, and then reflect how this speaks about our world's situation. I just have been amazed. I've especially seen that through the first few of the Night Watch arc of Discworld, that starts with Guards, such a great choice. I started with the Moist von Lipwig arc myself, going postal plus 2 more. Even if they were the last books written, since as the adage goes, the best way to start reading Discworld is just to find the nearest book to you. So that was my reading order. Highly recommend the whole series. I also wanted to offer other individual novels in the Discworld canon. Small Gods and Monstrous Regiment both tackle such important and interesting ideas worship and faith, and women's place in nationality in such a deep and resonating way. No knowledge is needed for those two, and both are 10 out of 10. Dresden Files, quickly. I just bought Outlaw recently, having heard in December that a new Dresden Files novella was coming out after Battlegrounds. Turns out I'm late. There's another novella, The Law, and a whole book, 12 months, that I have missed. So thankfully, I looked that up. So odd to have gotten 3 pages in. See ya, and apologies to future me. Data did, in fact, read aloud our words and sentences again. And now the Stormlight Jeopardy, because emails are long to write. I felt like the Dawn Shard MOS music choice was perfect for Nickley's acceptance of their own crab manatee and perfection while being different. It was always what I jumped to. All different themes on the same idea. The Lopin, Huio, Risen, and Nickley. Well, yeah, that's I guess true. They all do kind of have a different take on that theme in that novella. So many people recommend Guards that I may go and try it, but it'll have to go on top of or somewhere in my TBR pile.
What is why is it called Disc World? Can somebody explain that? Quickly?
Yeah, because the world is a big disc.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big disc. It's on the back of. It's on
the back of 4
on top
elephants,
of a turtle,
which sit on top of a turtle. Yeah,
Interesting.
and the turtle flies through space and carries the disc world with it.
As you do.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty easy to explain actually. It's Discworld because it's a world that's shaped like a disc. You know how it is. All right.
Yeah, Ringworld Halo remake coming out in July 20 something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, coming out this month.
Interesting. This one is from James. It says, new Stormlight sign-off suggestion. Thought of an alternate sign-off with Crabs Ahoy and Haha, I'm Sil. As Adolin says in the last chapter this week, when he's trying to get Kaladin out of his rooms, come on, Bright Lord Master High Marshal Stormface. I cannot remember that sentence for the life of me.
That's too long.
I tried in this episode when somebody mentioned High Marshal to be like, oh yeah, he calls him, what was it?
Bright Lord High Marshal Master Stormface? Did I get it right?
Hold on, let me go back to it. It is Bright Lord Master High Marshal Stormface.
Bright Lord Master High Marshal Stormface. Yeah, no, that's too much.
So yeah, sorry. That is a fun one. I can't remember it. I don't know why. Okay, let's do one more. That's not too long. This one is from Jenny. It says, loving your podcast. Hello, Sander Lynch crew. I found your podcast several months ago looking for more Cosmere content that I could listen to after finishing the Stormlight Archive audiobooks. Fantastic narration, BTW. I was just starting Mistborn, so I started at the beginning of your podcast and listened as I was reading the books. I've now finished through Bands of Mourning and waiting for the Lost Metal to be available at the library, so I'm way behind where you guys are currently, but I don't want to jump ahead even though I've read the Stormlight books. Can't miss out on any inside jokes. Anyway, as I'm waiting the longest 2 weeks of my life for my library hold, I'm listening through the baby breaks and cracking up at Joe guessing books from 1-star reviews. I'd love to hear the whole crew guess books, especially Cosmere books, based on bad one-sentence summaries like this. And then there's a link to can you figure out what book this is from the bad one-sentence summary? So just the first one in here is, a rich guy throws parties to impress his ex and gets killed in his own pool. What?
Great Gatsby.
That's Gatsby.
It is The Great Gatsby. Yep.
Yeah, that was actually pretty easy.
A girl moves to a Florida swamp, befriends a mouse, and her dad goes to jail for punching a pastor.
Oh, I know this one. Can't think of the title, but that sounds familiar.
I've never read this book, actually. It is Because of Winn-Dixie.
Yep.
I have not read that, no.
It's an oldie.
This one's an easy one. An orphan gets famous for not dying as a baby and spends 7 years being systematically targeted by his high school teacher.
That's one way of describing Harry Potter.
Yeah.
A woman gets dumped by her boyfriend, gets a makeover, and makes a very dramatic courtroom entrance.
That sounds like Legally Blonde, the movie.
Yeah, that is Legally Blonde.
That's not
is that a book? It says that these are the quiz is about books. Maybe it is a book, and I just don't know it.
I don't think that's a book.
Yes, by Amanda Brown, apparently.
When was it written? Before or after the film?
Hold on, let me see. Book. Legally Blonde novel, a 2001 comic novel by American author Amanda Brown. The novel was the basis for the 2001 film of the same name. So it came out the same year?
So it came out the same year? I feel
weird.
like that's impossible.
No, that actually, that sort of tracks a bit. I was reading, granted there's a long gap between these, but I was reading the book by the screenwriter of Jaws, and he's talking about how the movie Jaws was being made and a whole bunch of the stuff that they went through while it was getting made, and they had optioned that book and gone into production before the book got published.
Wow.
So I guess like somebody just who knew the publishing company was like, "Hey, this book's coming out. We've looked at like the beginning pieces of it, and it's real good."
Apparently, there was just like there's buzz in like at that time in the book market before the book even came out. Like all the publishers or whoever were talking about, it's like, oh man, this book is going to sell gangbusters, and the Hollywood people wait around for tips like that and just go snap up the rights now. It hasn't even come out yet. Get them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm looking. The producer of the movie got an unpublished manuscript of the novel delivered to him and just loved it and started the movie being made like a year before. The novel came out in June of 2001 and the movie in July of 2001. So they are very, very close.
Whoa,
crazy.
Yeah, okay.
So
Anyway,
yeah, anyway,
didn't
I
know
will go
that.
through the whole list, but that's a fun little thing.
Yeah. Do one more.
Yeah, okay, we'll do one more. Let me find a good one. A teenage girl picks the wrong guy in a love triangle, sparking a civil war.
A civil war.
And the funny thing is that these are multiple choice. I haven't been giving you guys the choices.
I mean, I would say Twilight as well, although that doesn't exactly make sense.
I was like, I feel like this is true of 3 of these. Mockingjay is on here. Divergent
Oh yeah.
and Twilight are all possibilities. And I'm like, I feel like it fits.
Yeah, I would say it's Twilight just based on that description, even though it's not very good.
Mockingjay is the one that they're saying is the.
Oh, see, I've never read the third one. I only read Hunger Games.
I read that the original trilogy, and the third one made me hate the entire thing. So,
yeah.
Oh come on, like kid on a boat with a tiger, like that's.
Oh wow,
that's not even a bad description. Oh, 2 adventurers are tasked with avoiding tragedy and have the help of foresight.
What?
The options are Lord of the Rings, A Christmas Carol, The Hobbit, or Tonight on the Titanic.
I guess Tonight on the Titanic, although I've never heard of it.
I've also never heard of that one. Oh, it's from the Magic Treehouse series, which is like a very young kid series. My boys asked me to read the first one of those with them not long ago. Yes, it was Tonight on the Titanic. It's like these kids find a magical treehouse that has a bunch of books in it, and then when they look in one of the books on various topics, they get teleported to whatever the book is about. So the first one, they found a book about dinosaurs and end up in dinosaur times. So I guess they end up on the Titanic in this one. But kids break into a factory and 4 of them get brutally punished for being brats.
Willy Wonka, or I guess Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, but they don't break into that factory. Anyway,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That was
they got
fun.
invited.
Yeah, they got tickets.
It was like the whole premise was they won the opportunity.
Yeah, they definitely did not break in.
That is super fun, and I would like to do something like that again. When I have time to vet the questions ahead of time more, and I guess I could have done that with this email. I just didn't, so that's on me. But yes, we should totally do some fun stuff like that. Maybe another time when 2 people can't make it, we'll do some fun activity like that.
You mean like next week?
Yeah, I was thinking like next week, but I'll have to kind of look into it more before that. I'm not committing, listeners. Sorry that we will have something next week now that this idea has been given to me, but we'll see. Okay, back to Jenny's email. Sorry. Also, you are well beyond this point, and maybe you've changed your minds by now, but I think everyone is too hard on Wayne. He is clearly very immature, likely due to some trauma in his childhood. He isn't the best friend, but his friends all clearly know how he is and accept that about him. When Wax shuts down his complaints about Steris, he listens. I don't think he has bad intentions. I think he's immature and impulse-driven and gets carried away. Anyways, you're all so much fun to listen to, and have prompted me to try and be more insightful and come up with my own theories. Keep up the great work. Sincerely, Jenny.
It's okay. You could say Dak. Like, we all know I'm the one who led that.
I mean, you weren't wrong though. I mean, and yeah, we've discussed Wayne a lot. I think we all landed on while Wayne left the story a hero, that does not necessarily mean that each of his idiosyncrasies was justified.
Yeah, but by the same token, it's just because he did all those things doesn't make him a bad person. It just at times he could be a very inconsiderate friend.
Yeah, he would be annoying to be around. And yes, his friends are they get that they like him enough that they'll deal with that stuff. But geez, trying to make friends with this guy as an adult would be like torturous. Maybe it would be worthwhile. Who knows? All right. That's enough. We got a few more emails, but we'll save them for another time. Thank you, everybody who sent emails. If you want to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. If you want to leave us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice and send it in like somebody did today, Joe will assign you a misting power. And if you want to join our Patreon, he will assign you a fairing power. And if you do both, you can be a twinborn and be super cool. Patreon, I actually still have not started reading. I think nothing went up this week because I just did not have time to start in or back in on Dragonsteel Prime. I'm hoping to get that by the time this episode comes out. I'm hoping at least one more episode of that will have gone up. But this last week has been crazy. So I did not have time to do it for that. But that's what's coming up next on Patreon. I'm going to go back to reading Dragonsteel Prime and reacting as I read that for the first time. So if you guys are interested in that, check out our Patreon. Get a fairing power. Also find us on Instagram and Facebook and places like that on the internet. We appreciate all our patrons. You guys are awesome. Our emailers, people on the Discord, people who just show up every week and listen to us read through these books. I hope you're enjoying it, having as much fun listening as we have reading and discussing in our private little Sanderson book club. Thanks, everybody. Remember, we are doing 3 chapters for next time to finish out part 1. That's chapter 16, 17. I'm sorry, chapter 17, 18, and 19. We just read 16. You can read it again, guys, if you want. But 17, 18,
I wouldn't
and 19
recommend
for
it.
next time. 3 chapters, music by Miracle of Sound, and Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fashion. Crabs ahoy! To the
burden that is shared is much easier to bear. We will not fall to despair this darkest day. Whatever comes our way, whatever might